25 years. 25 years of honoring those who have inspired and continue to inspire their communities by being survivors, caregivers, mothers, doctors, and advocates for finding cures. Since 1995, the Mothers of the Year Award Luncheon has convened inspiring women who are invested in the health of their communities and the future of women's roles in scientific breakthroughs and cancer research. More than 40 women have been honored by this award, raising more than $5 million to support cancer research, patient services, and care, all while celebrating exceptional women who are leaders in the boardroom and operating room and advocates for philanthropic endeavors. The American Cancer Society is committed to fighting every cancer and helping every community, and our commitment is further reinforced by trailblazing women who support our mission. Today, we look back at 25 powerful years as we thank those who have supported the American Cancer Society and contributed to this event, as we honor those who have unfortunately succumbed to the disease, and as we start a new chapter by shining a light on the newly developed Research Hers program, which sustains women-led cancer research, launches new careers, and inspires a new generation of young women considering a future in science. This movement will highlight the incredible discoveries made by women and empower women leaders to support the American Cancer Society's National Research Program, which funds some of the brightest female minds in cancer research. Fundraising by women to support women-led research. Women play a pivotal role in the prevention and early detection of cancer, serving as doctors, researchers, advocates, fundraisers, and caregivers for family and friends who are fighting this disease. By supporting the Mothers of the Year Award Luncheon, you are commending the women who make these daily sacrifices on behalf of our mission to find cures and save lives.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mothers of the Year 25th Anniversary Virtual Award Luncheon. My name is Liz Cho, and I am grateful to be the host of this celebratory event. Although today may look and feel very different from what we were initially expecting, we are still very committed to the same mission of the American Cancer Society. Cancer has not stopped during the pandemic, and neither will we. Today, we are here to honor remarkable, intelligent women with the most astonishing accomplishments, personally, professionally, and in service to our community. It is so inspiring to be among women who have dedicated their lives to fighting cancer, finding a cure, and caring for those who have unfortunately had to fight themselves. You are all a shining example of why we are here today. The Special Events Committee has been planning today's program determined to continue to raise critical funds for the American Cancer Society's patient service programs and cutting-edge cancer research investments. Throughout today's virtual benefit, you will have many opportunities and ways to donate, so please do. You can text to donate by texting ACSMOTY to 44321. Or you can visit our website at acsmothersoftheyear.org to make an online donation. Every donation made during today's program supports the American Cancer Society's research efforts via Research Hers, which are currently in jeopardy due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Please donate. It is so important. All right, now here to help us understand what is at stake during this challenging time for both cancer patients and the American Cancer Society is the American Cancer Society's Chief Operating Officer, Chris Kim.
Thank you, Liz. I am thrilled to join in celebrating the 25th anniversary of Mothers of the Year. I've been lucky to have been a part of this marquee event, the only one of its kind, for 2 decades. I am always uplifted and inspired at this event, especially by our honorees, and our 2020 Trailblazers are no exception. Congratulations to Dr. Allison Estabrook and Dr. Valerie Roosh. Like you, I can't wait to be together in person to crown our 2021 Mother of the Year, the incomparable Diana Feldman, who founded this event and through this and other dazzling pursuits has raised tens of millions of dollars. A lot of money is what it takes. which is why this luncheon is so amazing, raising more than $5 million to date. I also love that Mother of the Year brings together women who are invested and invest in the health of our communities. And one very significant way you do that is by supporting outstanding women in cancer research. I hope you took notice of the just announced winners of the 2020 Nobel Prize in Chemistry, Emmanuelle Charpentier and Jennifer Doudna, who discovered how to edit genes using the laboratory equivalent of scissors. In 2018, Your American Cancer Society bestowed upon Dr. Charpentier and Doudna our organization's highest honor, the Medal of Honor, because we knew they changed the world. Sharing the stage with them was fellow honoree Vice President Joe Biden, whom we honored for launching the Cancer Moonshot. As the video mentioned, funds raised during this year's Mission Moment will benefit our newly developed Research HERS program, which sustains women-led cancer research, launches new careers, and inspires new generations of young women. Liz stated earlier, but I am compelled as your COO to underscore that for the first time in the American Cancer Society's 107-year history, we have had to pull back on cancer research, funding only about half of the program. This means we have been forced literally to leave breakthroughs on the table, which is devastating for cancer patients depending on answers to cancer now. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused Your American Cancer Society to make cuts across the board at a time when Americans need us more than ever. Today, 1 out of 3 cancer patients in active treatment are experiencing delays in their care. 2 out of 3 Americans report delays in scheduling or are skipping cancer screenings, such as mammographies and colonoscopies. This means people whom we love are walking around with cancer and they don't even know it. We have so much work to do, and the only way we can do this is with your support, because Your American Cancer Society did not get $1 from any bailout anywhere, not even $1 in forgivable loans. We can only fund cancer research, get people back to screenings and treatment and survivorship with generous private donations. So thank you. Thank you for your support and caring. Now it gives me the greatest joy to introduce one of the most loyal and dedicated volunteers in all of the American Cancer Society, if not the universe, Diana Feldman. Since 1976, Diana has dedicated her time, talent, and treasure to this fight. A philanthropist, caregiver, devoted mother, and doting grandmother, Diana will be our Supreme 2021 Mother of the Year, and we can't wait to recognize and fet you, Diana, for your incredible 45 years of service. Diana?
Thank you, Chris. Good morning, everyone. I am so happy to be here today in celebration of the 25th Annual Mothers of the Year Award Luncheon. I cannot believe it's been 25 years. Where did those years go? Although I was very much looking forward to seeing all of your wonderful faces in person, these are unprecedented times, and like many other fundraisers in the greater New York City area, we had to pivot. I am looking forward to reuniting with all of you once again on October 18th, 2021 at the St. Regis Roof. Cancer has not stopped, and neither will we. I would like to thank the Mothers of the Year Benefit Committee members who have enabled us to continue to host this event virtually. A special thank you to the Benefit Committee co-chairs, Ambassador Brenda Johnson, Cricket Burns, and Charlotte Ford, for all of your hard work, help, and support, as well as being longtime volunteers of the American Cancer Society. Thank you to our gold sponsor, Breastlink, New York, our silver sponsor, Dan Lufkin, and our bronze sponsors, Charlotte and Elena Ford, Hologic, and the William Fox Jr. Foundation. With your support, we will come one step closer to finding a cure. And to all of the supporters of today's virtual event, thank you, thank you. I know we will once again be toasting one another in a gorgeous ballroom, hopefully sooner than you think. A special thank you to Liz Cho and our media partner, ABC. We are honored to have join us today two ACS-funded researchers, Dr. Smith and Dr. Applebaum, as well as researchers, ambassadors, who you will hear from this afternoon. I am motivated by your work and the strides you continue to make in the face of extreme adversity and uncertainty. We are so thrilled to have Mandy Gonzalez provide entertainment for us today. As a survivor, Mandy has used her platform to give back to others in the same fight. This is so inspiring. Liz, back to you.
All right, Diana, thank you. Your commitment and volunteerism to the American Cancer Society is inspiring, and we cannot wait to honor you in 2021. As Chris stated, the American Cancer Society's research efforts are currently in jeopardy due to the pandemic, and you can make a difference. Donate today by either texting ACS-MOTY to 44321 or visiting our website, acsmothersoftheyear.org. All right, now I would like to turn it over to Desiree Beringer-Carton, who will be leading a conversation on research.
Thank you, Liz. Hi, everyone. As we mentioned earlier, new this year, the American Cancer Society will restrict mission funds raised at the Mothers of the Year Award Luncheon to benefit the Research Hers program, which helps sustain women-led cancer research, launch new careers, and inspire a new generation of young women considering a future in science. Today, we are lucky enough to have two female researchers who will give us insight into what they have accomplished and hope to accomplish with the American Cancer Society funded grants. I am thrilled to be here alongside Dr. Allison Applebaum, Assistant Attending Psychologist and Director of the Caregivers Clinical at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, and Dr. Cardinal Smith, Chief Quality Officer for Cancer at the Mount Sinai Health System. Good morning, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Good morning. It's so good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Good morning. It's a pleasure.
Oh, we are so excited. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us. So first, I'd like to open up with each of you discussing a little bit about your American Cancer Society funded grants and the work you're currently doing in your fields of research. So Dr. Applebaum, let's start with you.
Great. So when I came to Memorial 10 years ago, I was struck by what a phenomenal job the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences, and more broadly, the field of psychosocial oncology, was doing in supporting patients with cancer. I recognized, however, that the needs of cancer caregivers, the family members and friends who are so intimately involved in the care of patients, and oftentimes because of their responsibilities, experience extreme distress, that their needs were not necessarily being addressed. And so over the past decade, my work has focused predominantly on developing supportive services for cancer caregivers. My mentor and the chairman of our department, Dr. William Breitbart, developed a powerful psychotherapeutic approach called meaning-centered psychotherapy that seeks to foster an enhanced sense of meaning and purpose in life, regardless of however long we have to live. And through funding from the American Cancer Society, I've been able to adapt meaning-centered psychotherapy to address the specific needs of cancer caregivers. In my most recent trial funded by the ACS, we're evaluating the feasibility, acceptability, and preliminary effects of this intervention specifically for caregivers of patients with glioblastoma multiforme. GBM, it's a devastating neuro-oncological disease. Personality and neurocognitive changes experienced by patients make the demands of caregiving great. And so this is a group who's really in great need and urgent need of support. Our trial is ongoing. We've enrolled 56 of 60 caregivers, but our interim analyses show that those who've received 7 individually delivered sessions of meaning-centered psychotherapy demonstrate significant improvements in an overall sense of meaning and purpose in life, and meaning and purpose in caregiving specifically, and decreased symptoms of anxiety and depression, all in the context of increasing caregiver burden. We couldn't have collected this important pilot data without the support of the ACS. We're going to be using this data next year in an application to secure R01 level funding from the National Cancer Institute.
That's fantastic that you're able to record that data because caregivers go through so much when their loved ones are diagnosed with cancer. So it's so important. So thank you for giving us some insight on the work you're doing. Dr. Smith, can you tell us about your current research work?
Sure. So clinically, I am a lung cancer oncologist as well as a palliative care physician. And palliative care is really a medical specialty that focuses on improving the quality of life for patients who are living with cancer. And they aim to relieve suffering associated with symptoms like pain and other symptoms, as well as really talking about goals and values when you have a life-limiting illness. And so one of the things we know in cancer is that there is a broad disparity in terms of outcomes for racial and ethnic minorities. Racial and ethnic minorities with cancer tend to be diagnosed with more advanced cancer. And then they also have poorer outcomes compared to non-minorities for those same cancers. And so my program of research is really centered around improving the quality of care for patients with cancer, with a special emphasis on minority populations, and specifically looking at and evaluating how racial and ethnic minorities access and utilize palliative care and hospice services. And so my funding from the American Cancer Society was to look at racial and ethnic disparities in the use of palliative care and hospice, focusing specifically on patients with advanced incurable lung cancer. And what we aimed to do was really to assess differences in symptoms among minorities, specifically in this case, Black and Latinx populations, compared to white patients living with cancer, assess what that symptom burden is, how that burden changes over time, and the treatments that they receive. You know, about 10 years ago, there was a seminal paper published by Dr. Jennifer Temmel, looking at integrating early palliative care into lung cancer care. And what they found in that paper was that patients with lung cancer had improved quality of life, better symptom management, decreased depression, and an improvement in survival when they received palliative care alongside standard cancer care. Unfortunately, like many clinical trials, there were predominantly white patients enrolled in this trial, and it really didn't include racial and ethnic minorities to get a sense of what some of those barriers may be. And so with my study, we really attempted to look more at patients' perceptions and how their cultural values and beliefs may impact their desire to use these services or their ability. And furthermore, to Dr. Applebaum's work, we recognize that among racial and ethnic minorities, caregivers play an even more important role in terms of helping minorities access care and how they think about what care they want to receive. And so we also queried caregivers about their thoughts on palliative care and hospice. And what we were able to find was that, not surprisingly, Black and Latinx patients with advanced lung cancer had higher symptom burden, higher needs that were less likely to be met and really persisted throughout the trajectory of their illness. More importantly, we found that Black and Latinx patients really preferred palliative care because you can receive that care alongside standard cancer care, as opposed to hospice, which says you have to really stop your standard cancer treatment. And so from this work, what we really want to do is move forward with trying to develop more culturally appropriate palliative care interventions, thinking about new care delivery models to really treat minorities with cancer and meet them where they are.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Smith. Palliative care is so important, for all populations. And thank you both for sharing the research work you're doing and giving us some insight. Dr. Smith, you talked about your research focuses on identifying disparities among high-risk populations. What are some of the trends you were seeing within these vulnerable groups in the wake of COVID-19? How has that affected your work as a female researcher?
Yeah, thank you for those questions. I think COVID-19 has really unearthed and magnified disparities that already existed, really throughout the care continuum, from access to care to access to treatments and ultimately outcomes. I think one of the things we've been seeing, particularly among our minority patients with cancer, is less access to use of telehealth. And so, we've shown that for patients, at least in our own center, Blacks and Latinx patients tended to use much less video visits and were much more likely to come in person for those visits, which increases their exposure risks, especially with having an underlying condition like cancer. When I think about how this has impacted my own work as a female researcher, I think it is hard as a caregiver. And for me, I am a caregiver for, elderly parents and grandparents, as well as my own children and, even my husband. It has put much more of a burden on the work, on my ability to successfully complete my work and to be, a mom, a daughter, a wife, as well as to be a researcher. And I think that what we're seeing in the literature is that regardless of how someone describes themselves as a caregiver, women in particularly are being unequally burdened by the impact of COVID-19 and having to juggle being a stay-at-home teacher and working from home at the same time.
So much to juggle all around.
Yeah.
So thank you for giving us, a little bit of that insight, because it's tough and more to come, right? Because the pandemic, is not going away right now. So, Dr. Applebaum, as a researcher who works with caregivers, what are some of your findings that you've uncovered over the past few months, given the limitations and the barriers placed on psychological care due to the pandemic? Have you been surprised by what you've noticed? It's just so much pressure on everyone going through a cancer diagnosis, and then add this pandemic to it.
Sure. What an incredibly challenging time for all of us. And when you were speaking just now, Dr. Smith, I was thinking of the Rosalind Carter quote that there are only 4 kinds of people in this world: those who were caregivers, those who are caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need caregivers. And so we all, as humans, fall into this category. And so I think this is a topic that's being brought to light in the context of this pandemic, but one that needs continued attention far beyond COVID. I think the experience of caregivers is more isolating and challenging now than ever before. So historically, caregivers have been able to potentially depend on home health aides and visiting nurses and extended family caregiving networks when available. But now the majority are providing care in isolation, and many even from afar. And so it's an extraordinarily isolating experience right now. And of course, sadly, many caregivers have experienced traumatic events when being separated from their loved ones who are receiving care in inpatient settings. And of course, most devastatingly, those caregivers who are separated from their loved ones as those loved ones take their last breaths. Despite these incredible challenges, I do think that there are several silver linings emerging in this pandemic. And the first is a theme that's arisen in the narratives of caregivers who've come to our clinic, and also in conversations that I've had with colleagues across the country, and that is of resilience. Caregivers have said to me, PPE, wearing masks and gloves, keeping distance, doing everything that I can do to take care of my loved one and prevent additional illness, I've been doing this all along. This isn't new. Caregivers have said to me, taking care of my husband after the stem cell transplantation, that was a lot harder. And so I think what many caregivers are finding is that through their caregiving experiences, they've developed the skills and strength they need to face the challenges of this pandemic. Second, I think that more than ever before, caregivers have access to high quality psychosocial support. Historically, there are many barriers to psychosocial service use documented among caregivers, including the time and financial cost associated with coming into our treatment centers, the guilt that we feel when we take time away from those we love and take time for ourselves and self-care, and what remains in 2020, the stigma associated with mental health service utilization. And I think the fact that I and colleagues can provide care over the computer or phone screen while caregivers remain at home with their loved ones addresses many, if not all, of these barriers to care. So I feel like more caregivers now than ever are getting the support they need. And I think we're setting a new standard for the type of care that caregivers can and should receive. I, as a clinical psychologist, will admit that the therapeutic relationship established in person is incredibly special and meaningful. But I and my colleagues, we've absolutely been able to achieve our therapeutic goals over the computer screen.
It is amazing what telehealth can do in this time, to make sure folks are getting treated. You go through so many emotions when you talk about the research work, just because it breaks your heart, all of our hearts, when folks can't be together with their loved ones going through a cancer treatment, and they need to be together. But like you said, the silver lining, caregivers and cancer patients, they're resilient, they're strong, and determined to beat this. So it's really nice to see everyone come together. And you talking about telehealth, now more than ever, that is just crucial for us to utilize and for folks to utilize that. So thank you. Thank you both for all the great work that you have done to bring us closer to a cure. So we are inspired by your resiliency and know that it is not easy. It's not an easy task given the global pandemic, all that you're doing. So you both are truly so inspiring, and you're inspiring the next generation of women in science. So thank you both.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, it's been my honor. So thank you. So now let's learn more about the American Cancer Society Research Hers.
What does it take to outsmart cancer? Research.
It's been revolutionary to have women-led research teams.
I lead a team of 10 researchers. We identified a key gene that's mutated in blood cancers.
My mentor, Dr. Janet Rowley, proved the genetic basis of cancer. I built on her research and made new discoveries that led to new treatments that helped put patients into remission.
In the last 20 years, we have made significant progress. There are now 5 drugs that we can use to target breast cancer, and some of these drugs also are involved in ovarian and prostate cancer.
Diversity exists within cancer. And so why not have the same type of diversity and inclusion in scientists?
We're looking at the specific types of cancer that shows up in women of African descent. I'm investigating why certain chemotherapies aren't working to treat triple-negative breast cancer.
This is a really exciting time to be involved in cancer research because there have been a lot of breakthroughs.
The pace of cancer discovery is more rapid than ever before. And it's an irony that at this time, there is limited government funding for cancer research.
A number of my peers have had to close their laboratories because they were unable to obtain NIH funding.
And young women researchers are at a disadvantage. Women are awarded smaller first-time NIH research grants than men, $41,000 less annually.
The American Cancer Society has created a new initiative to fund women-led research.
Because we need to keep these young women investigators engaged and supported. At a critical time in my career, the American Cancer Society gave me funding.
They've funded me at 2 key points in my career. The first time was as a junior investigator, and the ACS enabled me to launch my laboratory.
The Researchers Initiative will allow us to fund the many women who have the kind of energy, excitement, and intellect to finding treatments and cures for cancer.
I'm hoping to find a cure for leukemia.
I'm hoping to use genetics to help patients live longer and better lives. There's always a question to ask, and having a grant allows me to continue to ask those questions.
The American Cancer Society Researchers Initiative is a unique opportunity to invest in promising young women investigators.
Because that's the next generation that we're all here to support.
We've been given the gift of time. And so we want to ensure that we're investing not just our time, but our talent and, yes, our money in finding ways to find cures and hope.
Together, we'll find a cure.
What a remarkable and inspiring video. This is why we are here and gathered today. As a reminder, you can donate to the American Cancer Society's research efforts by either texting ACS MOTY to 44321 or visiting our website, acsmotheroftheyear.org, to make an online donation. All right, now I'd like to introduce you to American Cancer Society Area Board Member, Chair of the Manhattan Board, a Research HERS Ambassador, and current lead fundraiser, wow, that is a lot, Peggy Half-Silbert.
Thank you, Liz, and hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with you today. I wish we could all be in person, but hopefully at a future date we'll all be together. I've been involved with the American Cancer Society since the early 1990s. I started volunteering when my dear friend was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, breast cancer, and invited me onto the leadership committee for a new Relay for Life that was starting in my community. I was hooked by the American Cancer Society's mission and by being able to volunteer with like-minded individuals. I'm also here as a 2-time cancer survivor. And although my cancer journey started in the early 1970s when I was a young adult, American Cancer Society was the first time I felt safe to speak about my cancer journey with my American Cancer Society friends. You see, back when I had cancer, it was considered the C word. I was working for a huge company at the time, climbing the corporate ladder. I was doing great. I came back, and then within 3 months, it reoccurred. I was out for about, I want to say 7 weeks, and I was ready to return. And they told me that I should reconsider returning to work. Why? Because my colleagues all came to HR and said they were uncomfortable with me coming to work. They were afraid they could catch cancer. Now, that hurt. I was young. I loved my friends at work, and here they were ganging up against me. I felt like a pariah. It predated the ADA Act, the Americans with Disability Act. I had no rights then. So I went on to work elsewhere, but I kept that part of my life a secret. I felt like a criminal, actually. I felt like something I really had to hide. I hid my scar with my hair. I just would never talk about it. I declined all insurance benefits so the company could not find out. It was the skeleton in my closet for sure. It was a highly emotional experience, and I learned to keep it inside. So meeting all these people at American Cancer Society, where everybody spoke so freely about having cancer and knowing people with cancer and getting promotions, but we have a lot of survivors working at American Cancer Society, and they're moving their way up the corporate ladder and no problem. So it was a great role model for me, but because of what I went through, speaking about my cancer journey is difficult for me. It still remains difficult for me, but I'm doing it today for a very important initiative. I want to share why Research HERS means so much to me personally and why I became an ambassador. Simply speaking, going back to when I had cancer, after I exhausted all that traditional medicine could offer me at the age of, I want to say 22 or 23, enter my heroes, the greatest advocates of all time, my parents. Again, I was a young adult. Parents are still very influential at that age. They just they were relentless. They located a clinical trial for me in immunology, which was almost unheard of in the 1970s. So I want to say that the cutting edge research that saved my life. I am here as a mother. I've had careers. I had 2 children. I've had a very full life. Many decades later, I'm speaking about this now. So the research that American Cancer Society funds and supports, which is so vital to cancer patients, is why I'm here today. It was just turned out to be a great experience in the end. And having cancer at a very young age actually helped form the framework for the rest of my life. What's important, what's not important. It sounds corny, but it's true. It really helped me form my framework. So Research Hers is a movement. It's a real movement that shines the light on the incredible discoveries made by women. It empowers female leaders to support the American Cancer Society's national research program, which funds some of the brightest female minds in cancer research. Simply put, it is fundraising by women to support women-led research. I hope you will join me today in supporting the Research Hers program, and please make a donation to help support women such as Dr. Applebaum and Dr. Smith continue their important work, especially in light of the global pandemic. We need them now more than ever. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy, for sharing your story and why it is so important to support research and female researchers. Today, with your help, we are hoping to raise additional funds to support Research Hers and projects similar to those we learned more about today. The American Cancer Society has funded 49 researchers who went on to win the Nobel Prize, which is the highest accolade any scientist can receive. This is a stat we often hear at many events and are honored to share. But did you know that not one of those Nobel laureate winners is a female? Well, it is time that we change this. To make a donation, please text ACSMOTY to 44321 or visit acsmothersoftheyear.org. Donate in memory of a loved one, in honor of Dr. Allison Estabrook or Dr. Valerie Rush. Or if someone invited you here today as a guest, consider making a donation in their honor. Every dollar counts. And thank you so much for your generous donations and helping to make this important work possible. Feel free to continue to donate throughout the afternoon. We really appreciate it. And now we have 2 incredible women we are honoring today. To kick things off, it is my pleasure to welcome Dr. Lisa DeAngelis, Physician-in-Chief and Chief Medical Officer for Memorial Sloan Kettering, who will introduce our first honoree. Dr. DeAngelis?
Hello. It's a pleasure to join all of you today. I'm thrilled to be part of this luncheon where I have the privilege of introducing one of this year's honorees, my colleague, Dr. Valerie Rush. Let me tell you about this remarkable woman. Dr. Rush is Vice Chair of Clinical Research for the Department of Surgery at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. She also holds the Minor Family Chair in Intrathoracic Cancers. From 2000 to 2013, Dr. Rush served as Chief of the Thoracic Surgical Service at MSK. Most recently, she was named as the distinguished position of President of the American College of Surgeons. These are some of the facts that define Dr. Rush's many professional accomplishments. However, they don't really capture her deep commitment to patients and their families, her dedication to training and mentoring the next generation, having received numerous teaching awards, and her drive to improve outcomes for patients with thoracic cancers, as evidenced by her long-standing dedication to research in her many contributions to more than 500 peer-reviewed publications. Congratulations, Dr. Rush. You are beyond deserving of this honor, which recognizes you and your incredible work. And congratulations to Dr. Allison Estabrook. So great to see 2 trailblazing women physicians being honored today.
Thank you so much to the American Cancer Society, the wonderful committee, and leadership. I am thrilled to receive this honor. My career has been devoted to improving the care and outcomes of patients with thoracic cancers, particularly lung cancer and malignant pleural mesothelioma, through clinical trials and translational research. This is an exciting time in cancer care. We have finally begun to see a decline in cancer-related mortality in this country, in large measure because of improvements in lung cancer care. Early detection, lower risk surgical procedures, improvements in radiation therapy, new drugs, particularly immunotherapy, and advances in combining these therapies have all contributed to better outcomes for lung cancer patients. However, this year has also been a very challenging one for many cancer patients, particularly lung cancer patients, because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Lung cancer patients are an especially vulnerable group of individuals because they are frequently older and are now known to be at risk for worse outcomes if they develop coronavirus infection. We have learned to be very careful about managing their care and selecting the best treatment path during COVID. While the lower incidence of COVID infections in the New York area during this summer has enabled us to resume most of our usual approaches to care, we continue to be particularly vigilant for this group of patients. I have just completed my term as president of the American College of Surgeons, the world's largest surgical organization. On a national level, the American Cancer Society works closely with the American College of Surgeons through the Commission on Cancer, with many programs designed to ensure optimal care for all patients across this country. I would like to extend my personal thanks for all of the very important work that the American Cancer Society does to support cancer research, as well as the highest standards of care, access to care, and the well-being of our patients. During this very challenging time of COVID, the work of the American Cancer Society is more important than ever. Finally, I would like to extend my warmest congratulations to Dr. Allison Estabrook as well. I am honored to share this award with her. Thank you.
Congratulations, Dr. Roosh. And now I would like to introduce Dr. Paul Tarter, who will introduce our next honoree, Dr. Allison Estabrook. Dr. Tarter?
I'm certainly delighted to be here today for the Mothers of the Year Award Luncheon to honor my esteemed colleague, Dr. Allison Estabrook. Dr. Estabrook has dedicated her life to serving and treating others. As a breast surgeon, he laid the groundwork for Breastlink, New York, where she played a pivotal role in developing the comprehensive breast service, which includes genetics, psychiatry, and complementary medicine. She is, to this day, a full professor of surgery at the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai. She is most proud to be a co-founder of the Women at Risk program, which facilitates medical care to women at very high risk of developing breast cancer. Dr. Estabrook exemplifies the mission of the American Cancer Society and their dedication to promoting health equity among communities who need access to care. Dr. Estabrook and I have had parallel careers, hers at Columbia and mine at Mount Sinai at the beginning. We first met at a Society of Surgical Oncology meeting poster session, which she remembers fondly because my wife was working and I had to attend with my 2-year-old in a stroller at a national meeting. In any case, she went on to be the chief of the breast service at Columbia, and I became the chief of the breast service at Mount Sinai. In 1988, the CEO of St. Luke's Roosevelt Hospital asked Dr. Estabrook to come to Roosevelt and build a breast center, which she did. She brought with her from Columbia a plastic surgeon, a geneticist, physician assistant, a radiologist, and her office staff. She was so busy that within a year, she was looking for another breast surgeon to join her. And she was interviewing a physician, a breast surgeon at Mount Sinai, who at that time was working for me. In any case, to make a long story short, the person she was interviewing turned down the job, and I ended up going to St. Luke's Roosevelt and working with Dr. Estabrook. And we've been together for the last 20 years. I think many of you are aware that there is a monoclonal antibody that's used to treat breast cancer patients, which is called Herceptin. Well, back in 1984, Dr. Estabrook published a paper where they were actually giving monoclonal antibodies from primates to women with advanced breast cancer in a phase 1 trial funded by the National Institutes of Health. So she was certainly a major contributor to the use of monoclonal antibodies in the treatment of breast cancer. I want to point out that in addition, she has 40 additional papers, which I can claim that I am a co-author on at least a quarter of them. She also has 50 invited lectures. She's featured in Who's Who, Top Doctors in America, and New York Magazine's Best Doctors in New York. She has been very successful with obtaining outside funding for research and patient care from 7 different sources. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Estabrook.
Hello, everyone. I am very honored to accept this award from the Mothers of the Year Award Committee, especially this year when they are celebrating their 25th anniversary. I am very flattered to be included with Dr. Valerie Rush, who is one of the first women to be board certified in thoracic surgery in the United States. I have heard about her for many years and have referred many patients to her. We have a few things in common. We are both surgeons. We both attended the Lycée Français here in New York, and we both speak French fluently. I also want to thank the sponsors of this event, Hologic, RadNet, and the William Fox Jr. Foundation. I am happy to accept this award, but even more happy to talk about the research that the ACS is doing. Since 1946, the American Cancer Society has supported researchers at pivotal points in their careers and has given them their support that they need to keep great research going and to take their ideas from dreams to reality. The ACS has helped some 24,000 investigators make important advances in the prevention, early detection, treatment, and care of those with cancer. As of August 2018, the American Cancer Society is funding 746 active research grants valued at more than $410 million, some related to cancer, to specific cancers, and some to all cancers comprehensively. The ACS has invested more than $4.8 billion in research, more than any other private nonprofit organization in the US. ACS is currently funding more than 140 female researchers in the Northeast region, totaling nearly $69 million in grants. 28% of them are from the greater New York City area. We were able to hear about some of these grants from the researchers themselves who shared their stories during our mission moment. I am honored to be part of this event, especially during the launch of the Research Hers program, which shines a light on the significant discoveries made by women. The American Cancer Society is proud to be a top supporter of women in cancer research, and currently half of the ACS grantees are women, and most of them early in their careers when it is the most difficult time to get research funding. I remember how difficult and time-consuming it was for me as a young researcher to obtain funding for running my laboratory. I was investigating monoclonal antibodies in the treatment of cutaneous T-cell lymphoma. And then I investigated monoclonal antibodies as a delivery system for chemotherapy for breast cancer. I did receive an NIH R01 grant as the government was interested in funding breast cancer at that time. But I also received grants from private sources, such as the Florence and Herbert Irving Foundation, and from drug companies such as J&J and Becton Dickinson and Seba Corning. So I am happy that the American Cancer Society is a place to go to if a young researcher has a good idea to put forward. I want to close with a riddle. A man and his son are in a car accident. When they are brought to the emergency room, the surgeon there looks down at the young boy and says, "I cannot operate on this boy. He is my son." Who is the surgeon? I posed this riddle to many people 20 years ago in the operating room and elsewhere. Once the entire operating room staff was made up of women, and they guessed, the surgeon is the boy's stepfather, the boy's grandfather, the boy's uncle. Now I pose this riddle to people and they look at me like I'm crazy. Well, of course, it's his mother, they answer. Yes, that's right, it's his mother. But 20 years ago, people did not understand that a surgeon could be a woman. I am happy to say we female surgeons have come a long way. There are many more of us, and we are much more accepted than we were 20 years ago. So I am happy to accept this award. Thank you very much.
Well, please join me one more time in congratulating our honorees, Dr. Allison Estabrook and Dr. Valerie Ruch. You both exemplify why we are here today to celebrate inspirational women who are dedicated to the mission of the American Cancer Society. And we are all looking forward to 2021, where we will all once again join together in person, hopefully, to honor Diana Feldman. Please save the date of October 18th for next year. If you haven't done so already, there is still time to donate to the American Cancer Society's research efforts by either texting ACS MOTY to 44321 or visiting our website acsmotheroftheyear.org to make an online donation. All donations will support the American Cancer Society's research efforts in light of this current crisis. Thank you. This was truly inspiring, and I am so grateful to have been part of today's events. And now I would like to turn it over to Mandy Gonzalez. Take it away, Mandy, and thank you.
Something has changed within me. Something is not the same. I'm through with playing by the rules of someone else's game. Too late for second guessing. Too late to go back to sleep. It's time to trust my instincts, close my eyes and leap. It's time to try defying gravity. I think I'll try defying gravity, and you can't pull me down. I'm through accepting limits, 'cause someone says they're so. Some things I cannot change, but till I try, I'll never know. Too long I've been afraid of losing love, I guess I lost. Well, if that's love, it comes at much too high a cost. I'd sooner fight defying gravity. kiss me goodbye. I'm defying gravity, and you can't pull me down. Come with me, unlimited. Together we're unlimited. Together we'll be the greatest team there's ever been. Dreams the way we planned them. If we work in tandem, there's no fight we cannot win. Just you and I, defying gravity. With you and I, defying gravity. They'll never bring us down. Well, are you coming? So if you cannot find me, look to the western sky. As someone told me lately, everyone deserves the chance to fly. And if I'm flying solo, at least I'm flying free. To those who'd ground me, take a message back from me. Tell them how I am defying gravity. I'm flying high, defying gravity, and soon I'll match them in renown. And nobody in all of Oz, no wizard that there is or was, is ever gonna bring